Hey, it is Troy Stavros with Cornerstone Realty Associates here in Farragut, Tennessee, and I am going to go over the Farragut housing market data through the end of January as well as through the end of last week so we can see where things are, how things are shaping up, and what we can expect if we're jumping in to the real estate market here in Farragut. Let's take a look. Comparing January of 2024 to January of 2023 year over year, home sales are down 22.2%. The pending sales are down 20%. So definitely home sales and pending sales were down year over year. One thing to keep in mind though with these numbers is in January we saw that big winter storm, which definitely affected a whole week's plus worth of home sales. So keep that in mind when you're looking at these numbers. The inventory of homes is up 11.7%. So we have more homes on the market right now than we did a year ago. So that's good news for home buyers. New listings were down 8.1%, but we are seeing those start to tick up a little bit more, and we'll take a look at that here in a minute. The median sales price is up 19.72% compared to a year ago and coming in at $652,500, with the average sold price per square foot coming in at $239 per square foot. But we're going to take a look also in a minute here that the active homes on the market are actually trending higher than that. The absorption rate, which is looking at the amount of inventory on the market compared to demand, fell from 2.11 months worth of inventory last month to just 1.85 months worth of inventory. That is incredibly low, less than 2 months worth of inventory, when a healthy market is around 5.5 to 6 months worth of inventory. So this is going to keep us in the seller's market. So let's take a look at some of the other information. When we look at the number of listings, you can see here that topped out in September and have been coming down since then. This is not uncommon for this time of year, but we have seen inventory trend lower. When we look at the pending, new, and sold listings, they did the same thing. They peaked out here in October and then started falling. But the good news is when we look at what happened between December and January, pending sales went up. So that's good news. When we look at the absorption rate, that follows the trend line of the new listings. Again, as that number goes down, that means it's just going to become more competitive, more of a seller's market if the absorption rate decreases. When we look at the sold to list price ratio, when we look at this one here, it's showing us that homes are selling for about 97.8% of the list price in Farragut. And that is the final list price. That's not including the original list price. When we add in the original list price, that drops down to 94.2, which tells us there have definitely been some price reductions of late. So a home is reduced in price, and then it becomes this number here and is ultimately sold at 97.8% of the final list price. Days on the market have been trending up. Again, not uncommon for this time of year, coming in at around 52.9 days on the market overall, but we'll look at the different segments of the market as far as price points to see how that is different. When we look down here, take a look and see what has sold in January in Farragut. It's pretty even across the board. You can see sales in the 350 to 400 range, sales in the 400 to 450, 500 to 550, 650 to 700, 800 to 850, 950 to $1 million. And then the highest sale that we had last month was in the 1.1 to 1.2 range. So pretty even across the board as far as price points go of where things are selling. When we look at what homes went pending in January, also fairly even across the board. The most homes went under contract in the 550 to 600 range and the 400 to 450 range. But still, again, pretty even across the board. 300s, 400s, 500s, 600s, 700s. Basically, pretty even across the board. Even down here into the luxury market where we had two go under contract in the 1.3 to 1.4 million range, as well as one in the 1.5 to 1.6 million dollar range. As we look at what has the most active listings on the market, the price point with the most active listings is the $650,000 to $700,000 price point, which has 9 available listings, but there is inventory in most price points. You've got a few in the $350 to $400, $400 to $450, $450 to $500, and then going on down $700. So there's pretty good inventory with at least a few homes in every price point, all the way up to $4 million. That's the highest listing right now in Farragut. There is a listing between $4 million and $4.25 million. With new listings that have come on the market, again, pretty even across the board. You've got a few here, 350 to 400, 4 to 450, 450 to 500, 550 to 500, 650 to 700. So we're seeing things come on the market in pretty much most price points. So there should be a little something for everybody. Obviously not a lot because we have less than 2 months worth of inventory, but there are a few homes available in most price points to choose from. This is up to $950. I have a 3 in the 1.2 to 1.3, and then we have them all the way up 1.5 to 1.6, and then again we have that one up 4 million to 4.25. It's good to look at what has happened in the past, but if you really want to know what's happening with the market, you need to watch what is happening with the active inventory. So right now, when we look at the market action index, which gives us a breakdown between whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, with the number 30 being the break-even point for a buyer's market and a seller's market, under 30 is a buyer's market, above 30 is a seller's market. Right now, we're at about a 39 in Farragut, so we are in a slight seller's advantage. Now, you might say, well, with so little inventory, why is it only a slight seller's advantage? Well, that's because with interest rates being over 7% again, I believe as of today they were 7.16%, that is definitely affecting demand. So demand is down, but because there's so little inventory, there's still enough demand to soak up the little inventory that we have. But that keeps us in a slight seller's advantage. When we look at the median list price, this is a 90-day period that we're looking here on this graph. It's held pretty steady across this 90-day period. Have bounced up and down between that in that 700 range. So the median list price as of last Friday was $720,000 for the active listings on the market. Now the median price of new listings, that's listings that came on the market last week, was $674,900. Again, that number has held pretty steady as well over the last 90 days, hasn't bounced around too much. Price per square foot, we have seen trending up. You can see how this line is trending up here. As of last Friday, the median price per square foot of active homes on the market was $263 a square foot. 90 days ago, that was $231, and it has been moving up since then. Median days on the market has held pretty steady. Price decreases have definitely fallen, so that's good news for sellers. 90 days ago, we were at 55%. So that means 55.17% of the homes 90 days ago had a price reduction. Since then, that number has dropped, and as of last Friday, that number was only at 26%. So it looks like a lot of the old stale inventory has been weeded out of the market, and now we only have 26% of the homes that are active on the market that have had to take a price reduction. So that's good news. That tells us things are trending in the right direction for sellers. As far as relisted, this number here, usually you want to see this number under 10%. The relisted number means what percent of homes that are active on the market have either expired or gone under contract and come back on. So 12%, that's not too far over 10%, but that's a number that we'll want to continue to watch and just make sure that doesn't continue to go up. Inventory has held pretty steady. It's actually come down since 90 days ago, but again, we have very little inventory here in Farragut. This is a graph of what the market action index has looked like since 2019, and you can see where we were in 2021 and 2022, and then we definitely saw a big drop after the summer of 2022, came back up, during the peak selling season of 2023 and then have been dropping since. So if you're selling on the market, you can't be pricing or acting like it's 2021 and 2022 because it's just not the same market. Here we were at 100 as far as the market action index, which is the highest you can go. Now we're down to a 39. So definitely it's less of a seller's market than it was in 2021 and 2022. So keep that in mind if you are selling. You want to make sure you're pricing correctly and that you are looking at offers in the right way. When we look down here at the market segments, this is breaking the market in Farragut into 4 different quadrants with price points. So this bottom number, 520, is the average price of the home in the bottom of the market in Farragut. So for the bottom 25% of the market, it averages $520,000. You can get about 2233 square feet, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, and a home that's about 41 years old. The other thing we want to keep an eye on is this new and absorbed. New is how many new listings came on the market last week in this quadrant. So we saw 5 new listings come on the market in this quadrant here, and 7 were absorbed. So there's definitely demand in this lowest quadrant because 5 new came on, 7 total were absorbed. So demand for homes is there. And in that quadrant, of the homes that were active on the market, they were on the market for 28 days. The next quadrant up averages 690,000. In that quadrant, you get about 3,100 square feet, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, home that's about 23 years old. Last week, we saw 3 new listings come on the market in that quadrant and 3 be absorbed. So there's demand in that quadrant as well. And you can see of the 4 quadrants, this quadrant, this 690 average is the most competitive because of those homes. They've only stay on the market for 14 days is the average there. Next quadrant up averages 874,950. In that quadrant, you get 3,310 square feet, 4-bedroom, 3-bath average, home that's about 6 years old. Last week, we saw 1 new listing come on the market in that quadrant and 2 be absorbed. So there's demand there as well. That quadrant's taken about 77 days as far as the active homes on the market. And then the top quadrant, 1,337,500. That's the average in that top quadrant. That quadrant, you get about 45 square feet, 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, home that's about 10 years old. We saw 1 new listing come on the market last week in that quadrant, and we saw 1 get absorbed. And that quadrant, the luxury, is taking the most time, with the average days on the market for the active homes in that quadrant being 105 days on the market. All right, I hope that is helpful. That's what's happening in Farragut through last week. We'll take a look again next week to see if there's any changes. But when the market is shifting the way it is, it's always important to keep an eye on the data so you can see as soon as there's a shift in the market. So if you're looking to buy or sell, you know you're doing the right thing. If you have any questions about any of this information or about anything else with Farragut real estate or anywhere in Knoxville, don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you want to know what your home in Farragut is worth, I'm happy to help you. That doesn't cost you anything. Just happy to do some research for you and let you know. But reach out. Happy to help in any way that we can. This is Troy Stavros with Cornerstone Realty Associates right here in Farragut, and I look forward to talking to you soon.